All right. Hello, everyone. I hope you all are having a great day. So I welcome you all to this webinar where we'll be discussing Agentic AI protocols, MCP, and other protocols as well. So I'm going to get started with my introduction first. I am Zaid Ahmed. I've been working here at Data Science Dojo for more than 2 years now. Uh, we have been building some cool AI products. We have our own SaaS platform that we call it as Agento. We have been building it for quite some time now. So other than that, I also do regular teaching in Agentic AI and LLM Bootcamp. So that's the short introduction about myself. So we'll be taking out all of your questions. So at the end of this session, so feel free to just drop your questions in the chat, and I'll be going over it uh, after the end of this session. So let's get started with today's topic. The agenda for today's is we're going to discuss agentic AI protocols. Why do we need agentic AI protocols? What is an agentic behavior? What is MCP, which is most popularly used among the AI engineers, which is Model Context Protocol. Then there is A2A, which is agent to agent communication. Okay, I saw a message from Sunita. Yes, the recording will be on YouTube and the slides will be shared, and even the repository on which we'll be doing our hands-on exercise would also be shared with you guys later after the end of this webinar. So we'll be doing a hands-on exercise. There's Zapier, if you guys have heard about it. Zapier enables us to connect with 8,000 applications, 35,000 different tools. So we'll be going over Zapier MCP integrations as well. So this is the agenda for today's webinar. Let's get started with our first topic, which is what is an agentic behavior? Why do we need an agentic behavior? So previously, it all started with, if you remember, in 2023, this LLM era started with just with a simple LLM call. It used to answer questions, but you would have seen that the knowledge for LLMs were only restricted to 2022, 2023. So the advancement of ChatGPT, let's get started from there. In 2023, we had ChatGPT. So when we used to ask who is the current president of USA or who is the current president of UK, of the LLM used to respond with that I'm not capable of answering this because my knowledge cutoff is till knowledge cutoff was till 2022. Then the advancement came towards using lang chains, and people started integrating web search capabilities in ChatGPT and other models. So after this new advancement, which we call it as uh, passing the context through uh, different searches to our LLM. So there was a concept for passing retrieval augmented generation. So there was RAG that was most popular in 2024, 2023. So there was RAG, and then LLM started improving their knowledge by additional information, getting the context from different areas. So this was the start of, I would say, the agentic behavior, because we were passing out the additional information, additional context in form of prompts. So we used to pass context and the user used to ask questions. So the LLMs were able to respond it correctly because of the extra context we are sharing in the prompts. So this all started with, and then LangChain advanced capabilities improved the LLM's responses as well. Okay, so then keeping that in mind, there was this new concept of agentic AI protocols. So if I just start with how agentic AI protocols uh, came into being, so I would always give an example of this HTTP inspired standardized agent. So if most of you have used these REST APIs, so previously, companies used to build REST APIs so that customers can utilize the get, post, put, delete methods and get the additional or the context from the application they have built. Let's say if we talk about SQL database or if we talk about uh, HubSpot, so we usually had REST APIs that we used to get data out of it. So this was where the new concept came into being of model context protocol, that people started moving towards tools. So I would go over some of the MCP servers today. We'll look into the code, how they have built their MCP servers. But the concept was exactly similar. You used to call REST APIs to get the information from applications, databases. Now we are using tool wrappers on those REST APIs. So there are some tool wrappers that underneath it, they are just calling those APIs, but they are, I would say, sugar coated wrappers that query, execute, learn, reason, all of this on their own. So this was the concept. Uh, so this was the concept of moving from HTTPS to a tools based approach. And this was one of the thing that every company started adapting to it after Anthropic released this protocol. All right. So, okay. Uh, so yes, we'll be sharing the slides as well, and the recording will also be shared. So now we are advancing towards our protocols. So what we have learned so far is there's an agentic behavior. Agents, LLMs are calling tools for additional information. Tools are just sugar-coated wrappers on REST APIs. They are just getting the same information that REST APIs used to get for us, but now they are in a form of wrapper that LLM can call these tools easily because they have their prompts, they have everything set up there. So coming back to it, this model context protocol is uh, a similar kind of infrastructure that you can see a USB-C ports that every MCP server, every business logic remains decoupled from your entire architecture. Let's say you have your MCP client. This is something that you can use. There are multiple clients such as fast MCP, MCP use, and then there is also LangChain adapters as well. So there are a number of repositories that you can see over the GitHub about these. So MCP clients are there. All you need to do is plug and play. You set up your MCP server on a different web app. All of the business logic would remain in that web application. The client, it's a similar kind of approach that we used to use in REST APIs. The client will call a particular tool. Let's say you ask the user query was send an email to this respected person. Let's say I would write a query, send email to Sanjay. So what the LLM would do, LLM would go and pick the Gmail tool which sends email, send email. Let's say Gmail has a tool which sends email, or let's say an API with a tool wrapper. So MCP client would call this tool, would call this tool. The tool will execute its business logic in the server. Business logic would be executed in the server, and then the two after the tool after the response has been after the email has been sent, the response would be sent to the client that yes, your email has been sent. Then the client is your, it could be anything, your chat GPT, your Claude IDE, or any, they could be Cursor, VS Code. So there could be any IDE which would be serving as a client, and this would respond to the user that we have sent an email to this respected person, and the agenda and all the details have been sent successfully. So this microservices architecture, this decoupled architecture enables additional knowledge, additional context, additional power to the MCP, to your LLM client, to your agents. So now agents have improved so far that from the start, they had some kind of knowledge. They didn't had this much amount of tools, but now uh, all of this is coming in a closed loop, that you have your MCP servers, you have you have your business logic in a decoupled architecture, and then your client is just calling those tools, making it execute the work, and then the rest of the business logic remains in those MCP servers. All right. So any questions so far, just drop it in the chat. We'll be answering it even in the between of the session and at the end of the session as well. So MCP enables effective tool integration for LLM agents. So this is the protocol that Anthropic set it up. It is standardized how LLM agents discover, access, utilize external tools and resources. So the first step for an MCP server or MCP client, let's say you have set it up in ChatGPT or Claude. So the first step is to discover the tool. How many tools that are available to this? Sunita is saying, can we say MCP is a REST API? I would say it is a second layer to REST APIs, because it is more than a REST API. You used to add parameters in REST APIs, but in tools and MCPs, you add prompts, you add custom instructions, you add all of the details related to it, and then you call that API. So this is the right point. I think we can go and look into one of the MCP. I would always choose this HubSpot MCP server. I'm going to share this link in the chat as well. You guys can also explore. This is an official HubSpot MCP server. So if we go and look at the code of this HubSpot MCP server, you can see that there are different prompts that this server has. There are different tools. So if you go and look in the tools, these are different uh, association engagements. If you have worked with HubSpot, these are different actions that you can take on HubSpot. There are engagements, links, objects, properties, workflows. So there are tools for every API. So this used to be an API get workflow. Now list workflow. This used to be APIs, but now they have converted them into tools. So if you go over this, and you can find that it has a tool name, description, the purpose has been written, the usage guidelines are there, the input schema is there. So LLM is responsible for putting the input schema, and then it will go and try this API. You can see over here that it is just calling this API with the right number of arguments into it. So LLM is responsible for adding arguments into it after reading the input schema. And then it just simple try catch block that we used to write. It has created a tool on top of it. So organizations were used to build REST APIs previously. Now they are building tools on top of it. So this is an open source repository that you can go and look into how HubSpot has created their own MCP server. Okay, so let me take one question. So you can build a custom MCP based on the context we have. Yes. There is also one more thing. If you have your Postman API collections, there is a Postman have set this up that you can just convert your API collection into MCP server. So if I go over this Postman API collection to MCP server, so it is as easy as you used to build collections on Postman. You can create your own custom MCP servers as well. So over here, you can go into this resource. You can create your MCP servers. If you have Postman collections, try creating out, I think within 15-20 minutes, you will have your own custom MCP server. So I'm going to share it in the chat as well. This is super powerful. Think of it as whoever is building a API collection can also build their MCP server and start renting out it to other people. Okay, so there is this question from Abdul Razak. How many tools an MCP can expose? What if we have 100 or 10 or 1,000 tools? How many MCPs can I incorporate in my LLM application? Yes, context window. Yes. So I read a research paper on this that Anthropic advised not to share more than 40 tools with an LLM. This is the limitation or hard limit. You can go over it and look into resources about it. More than 40 tools, your agent would start hallucinating. Your agent would start calling not exact tools accordingly. Okay, so moving forward to our slide deck. So now we know that people used to build REST APIs. Now they are building tool wrappers around it. So if we go back to this, there is the first step for any MCP client is to discover how many tools you have. Then after it has discovered how many tools we have, it start doing the function calling. It takes into the input schema and then the LLM fills out the from the user query, the LLM understand the intent of that query and then prepared the arguments for the API that needs to be called. So this function calling has a lot of things to do. It takes into the account of input schema of that API, and then based on the user intent, it will fill out the arguments in the API and do the REST API call underneath the function calling. Then there is the third process that is third step, which is processing. So after the business logic has been executed, after the tool has been called, the result would be processed in it. And then there is context integration. So this is a standardized discovery. So Anthropic actually standardized this protocol among all of the companies that have been building these MCP servers. So the benefits of this is that there is a faster development for tool augmented LLMs, 40-50% faster development now. There is error handling, robust failure management protocols, a standardized discovery, and a consistent invocation that all the tools, everything follows the same JSON based function calling interface. So the implementation benefits of MCP is that organizations implementing MCP reports 60% improvement in cross-platform compatibility and 70% reduction in tool integration complexity. Previously, when we used to build integrations for our LLM agents, it used to take us around few weeks to build connectors. Just like we build a connector for Teams, we build a connector for Outlook. It used to take us around weeks to integrate that. But now with the advancement of MCP servers, we can do that job with 70% reduction in tool integration. So you can share your questions in the Q&A box as well. Um, so can I repeat how schema are used in the calling of tools? Yes, of course. So let me go back to the code and we'll go back to workflows. So you can see over here. So these are the details we are passing to our LLM. We pass with tools, we pass the name of that tool, the description of that tool. The description of this tool is the purpose. This tool retrieves detailed information about a specific workflow from the HubSpot account. The usage guidance is this: use the flow ID parameter to specify which workflow to retrieve. We are teaching all of this to our LLM to call an API. Consider this, that your LLM is a new intern in your company. You're giving the documentation to it so that it can start calling the REST APIs and get the information from it. So this is the exact same script. It has this input schema where you can where it defines all of that, and with these details, your LLM would be responsible for calling this tool. This tool would further call the API, which you can see over here, that this client.get automation v4 flows arguments.flow ID. So you can see there is, at the end of the day, there is just a function that is being called by the LLM in which we have written out the API. I hope that answers your question. So, okay. So please feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A box, and I would be replying to all of them at the end of the session. Okay, so let's go to the next slide and look into this. So there is this view of model context protocol. Your host with MCP clients, Claude IDs, tools, or you can say ChatGPT, or what we built was Agento. So I'll say just Agento is also an MCP client now. So this is the MCP protocol that we are using. So there is an MCP server. You can call it as Gmail MCP server. It has a local data source, and then there is another MCP server. There is another MCP server. It is connected with web APIs to a remote service. Let's say it is SQL Server on a remote basis. This is your Pinecone vector database, or this could be your Google Drive. All right. So this is a segmentation that we have done, that all of these things, they are separated out in a microservices architecture, and we are just calling the tools with our MCP client. Okay. So moving forward from here, the MCP, it manages the reliable agent connection life cycles, that whenever so there are a number of things that are going on with this MCP client and server operations. There is this MCP client, which is, let's say, Agento, or you can call it as Cursor. So they are considering as client because they have the LLM and agent in it, and you have your MCP server over here, which is, I would say, Gmail MCP server. Whenever a user asks a question, it will go to the client. The LLM would go and do the function tool call. In order to call the tool in the MCP server, a connection would be established, and then it will authenticate the verification of it. If it's the right client that has access to this, then it maintain until unless the server is not replying. When server executes its business logic, executes the logic, then it gets back to the client that yes, your task has been accomplished, and it's gracefully disconnect it. So the beauty of this is that it has the identity verification. Every MCP they are now building or to compliant MCP servers. So it can further take into accounts of tokens, and authentication is being done. Connection, we are monitoring the connection, system is resilience, and failure reduction is less. Okay, so going over this, uh, there is another thing, that this agent discovery and registration. So how do the MCP how would the MCP client would understand how many tools it has, and we'll be doing this all of this in a hands-on exercise. So you give an example to the schema or the agents, you give the weather agent ID and description, and we'll go over this when we start with our practical exercise. I would go over this practical code as well. So for the time being, let's skip and we'll come back to it when we get started with our Zapier integration. So far, anyone has any questions, please drop it in the chat and we'll go from there. The other protocol, the second protocol is agent to agent communication, which is so I believe agent to agent is Google actually introduced this protocol, which is which enables hierarchical agent collaboration in enterprises. So I remember someone was asking about how multi-agent collaboration works. So we're going to discuss that, and then we're going to move forward to our hands-on exercise. So agent-to-agent communication was developed by Google. It enables structured collaboration between agents within organizational boundaries through a hierarchical management approach. So there is a manager agent, or you can say CEO, who would delegate the task, coordinate workflows, and monitor the progress. Or you can say a supervisor agent. There are other names to it as well, a router agent. And then there are different multiple worker agents that execute based on a specialized task, based on specific capabilities. So the benefit of this agent to agent protocol is there is a distinct task distribution and intelligent allocation of subtasks to specialized agents. There are the enterprise grade security and policy enforcement can be done over here with governance and security. You can add role based access, or one agent would have access to one set of documentation, which we'll go over in a bit. So the performance improved 45, there are 45% improvement in performance because there is sole ownership of one agent who is, let's say you have one agent for HR, you have one agent for sales, you have one agent for marketing domain. So the beauty of this is that your agent is responsible for performing one set of tasks. So this enables the governance and security part as well, that your one agent would have access to the data of HR only. This agent would have the data for marketing only, and this agent would have data for sales only. So this solves the problem for governance and security and the other things as well. So if I go over this, if I go back, so this protocol actually helps us in task distribution. There are 40% reduction in complex workflow completion times, because when you give 10 different things to one particular agent, uh, there used to be a lot of hallucination with that. So performance is improved task distribution and governance and security. So these are the benefits of agent to agent protocol. So coming back to it, this router agent, so you can take into the account of this, that let's say this router is your company's CEO. Whenever a user asks about a question, let's say sales revenue for 2025, it will it will route this question to this sales agent. If there is a question related to HR policies, it will route it to the HR agent. Once it has shared this question with the HR agent, it will reply back with an answer, and you will get the answer from this router. So this router has two tasks to do. One is it will route the query after understanding the intent. And the second most important task it has to do is prepare the response, prepare or generate final response. So these are the two most important tasks that this router agent would be performing. So I see a number of questions that are related to the slides. Yes, we'll be sharing the slides and demo code as well. And you will have the recording of the session too. Okay, so similar to this router agent, there is also a concept of consolidator. We'll go over it, but if anyone has any questions about this agent to agent protocol, I would be happy to respond. So this is agent to agent protocol. We are discussing agentic AI protocols. We have went through MCPs. Now we are discussing agent to agent protocol. So it's required if at the end it's so Pankaj, your question is, why do we need MCPs if it is just calling an API only behind the scenes? So it's just one more of a thing. So if you have used an API tool earlier to MCPs, the LLM used to hallucinate a lot because the LLM was unaware of API. It was used to be unaware of the input schema for that API. It was used to be unaware of the parameters that this API would require. So we used to pass a lot. We used to dump the entire documentation for the API in the prompts, which results in context window issues. So there was a lot of issues that we used to face with the simple API call or the function call with LLMs. So the benefit of MCP is that you can see it's a distributed approach. Every API now is a tool. Now every API has its own prompts. Let's say there is a API for get list or get workflows. So now the burden of building those APIs, building those prompts, now all of the responsibility of this API tool calling and function calling is on the company itself who has their APIs. Previously, we used to pick their REST APIs. We used to write custom prompts. We used to write all of the function calling logic, everything. So let's say if I'm working with Teams REST APIs, I am not fully aware of all the arguments that particular API required because I'm new to that application. But the person who has built that API would be the best person to write the prompt for that API, would be the best person to write the input schema to. So let's take an example. If I am working in Data Science Dojo and I want to work with Teams API, there is some time that I would spend on those Teams APIs. I would look into the documentation. I would understand the parameters one API required. So if I'm trying to explain an LLM that, hey, there is this Teams API, use this and that. This is the one example. The other example is the person who has built that API is trying to explain an LLM. This is the API. You can use this, you can use it for that, you can use it for that. he will know it in and out of that. So consider you have, for teams, you have thousands of APIs. If I'm the person writing the prompt for it, it won't be as efficient as the person who has built all those thousands of APIs. So you see, this MCP protocol, it has diverted the responsibility from a person who is a client or who wants to consume that API to the person who is building the APIs. So now the person who is building the APIs is responsible for writing the prompt, is responsible for making that API available for an LLM in the best place, in the best manner. As compared to me, who was a customer who was just trying to consume that API. So all of this responsibility has been shifted to the companies. So I would say MCP is, we have shifted the responsibilities to the person who is building the APIs. We are making it sure that uh, it is available for LLMs to interact with this API. So now there is one more thing. Let's say if I am a software engineer, I'm building an API, I would think of a prompt that I can add into it and I can make it LLM ready. So I would say MCP servers are just REST APIs. The person who are building those REST APIs, they are making it available for LLMs to interact with. Previously, they used to write documentation for humans to interact with. REST API was a protocol that we humans were following it. Now MCP is a protocol that LLMs are following it to call the REST APIs. Can the router agent and the worker agent use different LLM? Absolutely, yes. The router agent and worker agent can use different LLMs. So we have this functionality in our product as well. So you're building a multi-agent system, and I want to understand how to use MCPs. So Sunita, if you have a multi-agent agentic system, you can go and look into LangChain adapters. LangChain adapters are, it's a repository. I would share it at the end of this class. It converts all of those tools in and reuse in it converts all of those MCP server tools into something that LangChain, LangGraph agent can consume. So I'm going to share this with you at the end of the session. Does A2A protocol also have a specification similar? Yes, A2A protocol has their own specification, there are multiple repositories that are available for A2A. How do agent pass their response to another agent? Does it use router for the consolidated final response? Yes. So um, all of these agents, they talk to the router agent in form of JSON response. So they just so this router is the person who is consolidating the final response. Okay. So any other questions? We had OpenAI specification, I believe, that shared the contract request response payload definition. Yes, Pankaj. So previously we used to have Open API specs. We as a human used to use Open API specs, and we used to make sure that we are calling the right REST APIs. But now we are building our APIs in such a manner that any other LLM can call it. How to define an agent is manager or worker? Maybe the demo. Yes, we'll be doing a demo on MCPs right now. But so how do you define? The definition is in system prompt. It's just the difference of system prompt, which takes into the account in the router and a worker agent. So it is so Ravi, it is as simple as that, that you write a system prompt for the router agent. It will do its job accordingly, and then if you have a worker agent, you will define its capabilities in the system prompt. Can an agent be a worker for two different routers? Yes. In the workflow we have created in our product, you can reutilize this agent in a different router and a different consolidator because it's just another instance of that agent that would be called. It's just an API of this agent that we are calling. Okay, so let me remove this annotation and we'll go back to the next slide. And we'll go to the next slide. I will stop annotation. Similar is the criteria for consolidator as well, that all of the agents, you have an agent for HR, marketing, sales, consolidator. Let's say you ask a query that is, what are the HR policies and how does it affected our marketing strategies in on LinkedIn? So it will get the response from the marketing agent as well and the HR agent as well, and the consolidator would further consolidate the response. Okay, so I think that's pretty much about it from our theory part. Let's go and for this exercise to complete, you guys would have you'll have to actually log into Zapier. So log into Zapier. I would just log out. So you need two prerequisites for this exercise. You must create an account in Zapier, and you must have a cursor agent running along. So we'll get started with this our practical exercise. I'm gonna log out and log in again to actually walk you guys through the flow. So this is a short interactive exercise that all of you can try it out. This recording is being done if you don't have those two prerequisites, a cursor and a Zapier account. It's all right. You can try it out later because everything will be recorded. Okay, I can share the Zapier link as well. You can just log in from here. And then it is mcp.zapier.com. So I'll just continue with my Google account. Okay. So this is it, mcp.zapier.com. You guys can all log in and then follow these steps. If you don't have prerequisites, don't worry, this recording will be shared with you. It will be on YouTube as well. So we're going to get started with create a new MCP server. We're going to select cursor as our client, and then I'll just name it as live session. I'm going to create the MCP server. So there we are. We have our MCP server. We're going to start adding tools. So I'm going to add this Microsoft Outlook tool. I will ask it to have all of the tools available through Microsoft. I'll add that. All of the authentication, everything would be done by Zapier itself. You can see now I have all of these tools available, which is find calendar events, find contacts, find emails. All of this as a tool are available. So these are just APIs and tool wrappers that you can. Then you will go to the connect link. You will see this entire code that you can copy from here. Treat your MCP server URL as password because this is highly sensitive. Anyone who would have access to your MCP server URL would be able to call those tools from its own cursor. So I'm gonna quickly go over it. So you have to, in cursor, you have to come and go to, you have to come and click on MCP and integrations. You can add a new MCP server. You can So I'm going to go and click add a new MCP server. And then I'm going to paste the code that I have copied from there over here. So after this, I'm going to say it's later, and then I'm going to select and ask my agent, how many tools do you have access to? How many tools you have access? Tools do you have? So even from cursor, you can see it has. So these are the tools the cursor itself has. So if you go and uncheck and click on Zapier, you will see how many tools this Zapier MCP has. So if I go over it and click on MCP, so it is loading the tools currently. You can go to this, just add a new MCP server and it will load out the tools. So in the meantime, it is loading these tools. I'm happy to take the questions if there are any questions. Okay, so you can see it has 23 tools available. It has Microsoft Outlook Find Calendar, do this, do that. All of these tools are available on our cursor after just a few clicks of integration. How many tools do you have from MCP integration? So you can see it has all of these tools available with MCP Zapier. Now, with these tools, I can send out emails, I can send out anything to, let's try it out, sending out an email. Send out an email to Sanjay at datasciencedojo.com with these details of my webinar agenda. I'm gonna go over the slide, just click out, I'm just gonna copy this and paste it over here. Okay, so now you will see that this cursor agent would call an MCP tools. And so do you have plans to cover A2A demo and details about ACP? Uh, Ravi will be actually doing the A2A demo in the next session because I believe we're short on time today. It's just 15 minutes left. I will go over ACP as well. So we actually set it's a 1 hour commitment. So we'll only go over the MCP demo, but I will go over the comparison about MCP, ACP, and A2A, everything in a consolidated. Okay, so you see it has called. So you can now look into this. Now you can look into this process. Uh, it strategized with this instruction, send an email to this. Recipient is Sanjay at Data Science Dojo. Subject is webinar agenda. Body is this. It has successfully called the right tool, Microsoft Outlook send email. It has also written out the detail in it. And now if I go and open up my Outlook sent emails, I would find, let me actually go and find the email it has shared with Sanjay. Okay, so I'm going to find that email and will share with you guys. So all of you, how many of you are trying it out, this MCP tools? Have you set up your Zapier account? Were you able to execute some of it? So you can see these are the details, these are the tools available. And you can try it out with this Zapier MCP service. Okay, so does does all the information need to be passed to LLM for every separate interaction within a session? Need to be passed. So I don't think so. So the beauty of this model context protocol is that it has the capability to call the relevant tool based on the user the query is asking. So let's say, uh, let's try it out. I'm going to start connecting my Google Docs as well. Uh, I have my previous webinar agenda on Google Docs. So I have connected the Google Docs tools. It can find a document, it can append text to a document, it can create document from template. All of this is possible. So I'm going to find the webinar agenda on Google Docs. I think this was Agentic AI with MCP integration. This was the previous webinar. So let's try it out. Now, if I just plug out and plug in again, Zapier would automatically detect the Google Docs tools as well. So now I can see that it has the tool to find out the documents. I'm going to ask my agent, find the details about this document on my Google Docs. Mm. Mm. So it is calling this tool Google Docs find a document. How do you do it without Zapier, Sunita? All of these MCP servers are available on this repository called MCP Market. So you can deploy your MCP servers on your web apps. This is how we are doing it on our product, because on our production environment, you can deploy all of these MCP servers on your web apps, and then you can use them in your client. Okay, so if I go back to cursor, you can see that it has found out the entire document. Agentic AI with MCP integration. This was the owner of this document, the document ID, the details about this. Now I can say send the entire details to Sanjay at datasciencedojo.com. So now we are using two tools at a time. It has acquired the information from that particular document. Now it is sending out that agenda documentation from uh, the Google Docs. Now it is sending out to Microsoft Outlooks signing mail. Okay, so anyone has any questions so far? If you were able to build your own tools and function, how would you do, say here in Zapier MCP? Uh, there are multiple sessions that we can do on building your own MCP server and then using it without Zapier as well. So we are planning to actually schedule those as well. So now it says the email has been delivered successfully through your Microsoft Outlook account. I'm going to go and look in the sent emails. Yeah, you can see over here, it has shared the details, but not in the proper structure. So this is something you can prompt. This was the previous email that this MCP sent out to Sanjay, and this was the current email at 11:52. This is the email that's been automatically sent out. So I would say, please resend this email with better with I would say, please resend this email and make sure to format it correctly this time. How one can create tools, say match teacher on board to MCP server and begin using it. You can easily create tools. The best way is, uh, if you want to create tools, just start with the basic repository. I would say Fast MCP is the repository you can get started with. Just go to Fast MCP and start with a Fast API backend server. Build your APIs. Uh, so, so I think, Sai, this is your question. Let's say if you want to create one tool, match teacher, and onboard to MCP server, begin using it. Yes, it is as simple as that. Just copy this code, Fast MCP, import Fast MCP. This is a demo. You create your tool over here and then just run this server. This is your first demo MCP server that you can get started. We are planning to schedule more similar events that we can create our MCP servers and then custom MCP servers and then deploy custom MCP servers on web apps and then use it. So you guys can use this repository. I'm going to share this in the chat as well. Okay, and then there was another library I was talking about, LangChain adapters. So this is LangChain MCP adapters, that if you have a LangChain agent, if you have a LangGraph agent, you can use this. You can use this as a client for your products applications. Okay, so let's go back to our cursor. Yes, it has improved formatting features, all of this, colored headings. Let's see the new email it has shared. Oh, I think that's the email I was expecting. Okay, dear Sanjay, I'm sharing the complete details for our upcoming webinar. Please find it a, a very beautiful header with all the details, interactive element. I really like the email. So I think that's about it. Who are the boot camps aimed at engineers? No, our LLM boot camps, Agentic AI boot camps is beginner friendly. If you know, even if you don't know, basic Python will share some prerequisites with you. So you can join our boot camps. It is, we have prepared it in a very beginner friendly environment. So anyone who is a college student or they can join us. We get started with a very beginner friendly theory. Okay. So anyone has any questions so far? So that's about it from today's session. We discussed the theory about agentic AI protocols. Why do we need agentic AI protocols? What is MCP, A2A? There are furthermore things that we would be covering in our next sessions. Creating your custom MCP servers, deploying your MCP servers on web apps, then using it on different clients. But this was the start. I would recommend all of you to try out this exercise on your own. Try with Zapier MCP and then move forward from there. So that's about it. So all of you that have joined, we can stay in touch. You can just reach out to me on my LinkedIn. I'm gonna share that with you guys in the chat as well. Okay, so Alishba, over to you if you would like to share any ending notes.
Thank you, Zad. So I'm going to be taking the screen here. Give me 1 second. Hello, everyone. So this is Alishba from Data Science Dojo. And before we end this session, I would like to introduce you to our upcoming bootcamp, Agentic AI Bootcamp. And I have shared the link in the chat as well, so you can check the page out. We have a bootcamp coming. We have put all the details on the page, the link that I've mentioned. You will be able to see that who this bootcamp is for, to see where you relate. And it is, like Zad mentioned, it's for beginners. It's a very beginner friendly bootcamp as well. It's very practical as well. And you will be able to see all the guest speakers, instructors that we have in the bootcamp as well. And you will be getting the verified certificate from the University of New Mexico. You'll find more details on the page, and you will find the whole curriculum and everything we're going to be covering on it. The dates that we have is from for September 30 and October 9. So go ahead, enroll for them. And just so you know, we're having a conference next week, and we are offering free bootcamp seats and giveaways and much more. So make sure that you register for the conference and join us next week, and you could be one of the lucky winners. With that, we will end the session. And if you have any questions or anything, just make sure you can ask us on support or any channel. They are all mentioned on our LinkedIn and everywhere. And before I end this, thank you so much, Dad, for such a wonderful session. And we hope to see you in the next session as well. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye bye. And before I end this, yes, the recording will be available to everyone. I'll be sending an email to all the participants with the resources, slides, and recording.